Hello friends, welcome once again to Chef Bill's Kitchen. Today I'm going to do a show about the Römertopf, a German clay cooking vessel. Today I'm going to be talking about pulled pork, specifically making pulled pork in the Römertopf for pulled pork tacos. I'm going to be using my small 2 to 4 person Römertopf Classic.
Who's the chef that you know? It's Chef Bill.
Now, I have done a show before about the Römertopf. I did a show about making a whole chicken dinner in my larger Römertopf Classic. You should check that out, and that has some general information about the Römertopf too. I want to also give you some tips and tricks about the Römertopf, because if you've got one of these and maybe you haven't used it very much, or you don't know how to use it that well yet, there's this book that comes with it, but this book isn't the perfect guide to the Römertopf. I have found that a lot of the times and the temperatures in the book that came with the Römertopf are off. They're usually too hot and too long, which tends to dry out what you're cooking. What I have done is, over the years of using these two pots, developed a little bit of a method to cook certain foods in. And the thing is that the times and the temperatures are only for one pot. There's only one time and one temperature per dish, but the Römertopf itself might have smaller or larger sizes. So if you have food being cooked in a small Römertopf, that will need less time and less temperature than the same food but bigger cooked in a larger Römertopf. Does that make sense? That's why it is important to experiment and to find your own cooking times and your own cooking temperatures for your favorite dishes that you like to prepare in a Römertopf. There is a pork recipe in the book that you get, and like I say, I think it's a little too long and it tends to dry out the meat. I found some stuff online, but there isn't much. One of the things about the Römertopf is that you don't want to open it during the cooking process. That lets out all the steam and kind of the juices and the hot air that you want to cook your food. You want to keep that inside the Römertopf. So it's best to find a recipe that works for you, where you don't have to open the Römertopf during the cooking process, and then ideally remove the Römertopf from the oven when you believe your food is done, and let it cool down for about 10 minutes before you even open it, because that will allow the steam to kind of settle and all the juices to kind of settle before you pop that lid off. You want to create a little environment, an atmosphere inside the Römertopf, and you don't want to break that atmosphere before the cooking is done. That makes sense, right? Now, one of the important things to remember about the Römertopf is that they are fragile. This clay is easily broken, and you want to make sure that you observe the instructions for soaking and for slowly bringing the Römertopf to temperature, right? I recommend soaking for a minimum of half an hour every time you use the Römertopf. Even though it says that you only need 15 minutes, give it a half an hour of full submersion in the sink. One of the things that you can do to extend the life of your Römertopf is the soaking and then slowly bringing your vessel to temperature. You should never put the Römertopf whatsoever into an oven that has been preheated. You do not want to preheat or turn on your oven before the Römertopf goes in. You should always put the Römertopf in a cold oven, no matter what. As a general rule, what I do is I put the Römertopf, either the small one or the big one, in the oven, and then I bring it to about 200 degrees Fahrenheit. It's important to have these graduated steps. I would never put it in the oven and then turn it on to 400 degrees, because I think that's just too much heat too quickly for the Römertopf. I want to bring it to temperature slowly. So 200 degrees Fahrenheit, then 300, then 350 or 400, after it comes to temperature on each of those levels. They could last many, many years, but they will not last forever. They tend to break. And this one in particular has a crack in the bottom part. I noticed it over time. Now this crack could have been caused by just hitting it on a hard surface. Usually you want to put, setting your Römertopf down on a hard surface could crack it. Most likely this crack was due to the temperature. It got too warm too fast and they will crack. The outside will expand before the inside can expand over time, and that is what can cause the cracks to form. That's why it's important not only to soak your Römertopf for a minimum of half an hour, but gradually raise the temperature from a cold oven. Because the crack on this particular Römertopf is getting bigger, I've decided not to use it anymore because I would not want it to crack open in the oven. That would spill out all the juices and ruin the oven probably. So again, remember that a small Römertopf is going to take less time and less temperature than a larger one. These two here are the two basic Römertopfs that you might see in the store in the United States. There are several kinds of Römertopf on the market, more so in Germany where they come from. And if you go on Instagram and look for the Römertopf, the hashtag Römertopf, you will see all kinds of uses: baking, pies, breads, all kinds of food, fish, vegetables. There is a whole world of the Römertopf that we may not see so much in the United States. So here I'm taking my Römertopf and putting it in the sink, filling it all the way up with water, and immersing it 100% for half an hour. Sometimes they say just soak the lid. I soak the whole thing. So I have a roughly 2.5 pounds of pork shoulder here. This is a pork shoulder or butt roast. There's no bones in this one. It's okay if there was bones, but it will fit my Römertopf. Okay, I'm gonna take my heavy cast iron pot and put a little bacon fat in there. I save my bacon fat when I make bacon. You could check that out. I have a video about that. But I'm just going to put a couple big tablespoons of bacon fat in my pot. I do not want to put it on a high temperature. This is on a low flame. I'm going to slowly brown my pork roast in bacon fat. Again, I'm not turning up the temperature very much. I just wanted to let it get a little brown on both sides. I'm gonna cover it and just let it sit there for a while. Now, the spice mixture. I take a big tablespoon of paprika, number one. Chili powder. Now, this particular chili powder I like. It's simply just ground chilies, and that's it. So if you can find something like that, use that. I'm gonna put in about a tablespoon of that. Cumin, essential ingredient in all types of Tex-Mex or chili-style cooking. I'm going to definitely put in some cumin powder. Now, garlic powder. I want to keep these all powders because it'll be easier to create the rub with all just using powder. So a little bit of garlic. There's about half a tablespoon in there. Exact measurements aren't critical in this. Now, powdered oregano. Put in about a half tablespoon or so. Now, finally, ground onion powder. I'll put in roughly another half tablespoon of that. And then give that a little mix. Of course, we don't want to forget about salt and pepper. Just put in about half tablespoon of each to taste. Again, not critical about specific measurements. So my pork roast is beginning to brown. A little bit of the juice is coming out. Now, I don't want a lot of the fat or juices of the pork to come off, so I'm going to keep it on low and just sort of golden brown the outside. And when I see juices starting to form, I'm going to take it off the heat. I don't want it to cook any more than that. In fact, this is a little overdone right now. I'm going to transfer my pork roast into my soaked Römertopf. And of course, that bacon fat and pork juice is going to go over top of my pork roast. Okay, now we're ready for the spice mixture. Just take half of your spice mixture and dust the top of your pork roast. Okay, then flip it over. Use the rest. And you're ready to start roasting your pork. I'm gonna put the lid on my Römertopf and seal it up. I'm gonna put it in a cold oven and then put it on 200 Fahrenheit, then 300, then 350 finally. Okay, I'm gonna switch gears and start working on the dressing for my pulled pork tacos. Starts with some green onion. I'm gonna put that in a mini chopper. Half teaspoon salt. Okay, this is pickled ginger from like your sushi restaurant or sushi stuff. I'm gonna put in about, I guess, roughly a tablespoon or 3 to 4 leaves of the pickled ginger. Now, my favorite hot sauce, pico pica. I'm gonna put about a half tablespoon of that in. Agave sweetener. Now, if you can find this agave sweetener, use about a tablespoon. Honey, maple syrup, or even simple syrup will work if you do not have agave nectar. And that's it. We are ready to blend. Blend it to, it doesn't have to be super fine liquid, but just well enough that the onions are kind of minced well. After an hour and a half in the oven, I am opening up my Römertopf, and here is my cooked pulled pork. You see there's a lot of juices left in the pot. I'm going to use those juices for another project, a pork and beans project. Now you can check out my other video about pork and beans if you're interested in this project. But basically, I'm taking all that pork fat and pork juice and putting it into a pot of beans. And that's going to become my future pork and beans. But that's another recipe. Take 2 forks and shred up your pulled pork. It should be easy to separate out and shred up and make it fine as you want to. I'm ready to start making my taco. So I take a corn tortilla, regular corn tortilla. I'm gonna toast it on the open flame of my gas range. Be very careful, this will quickly burn, quickly catch on fire. So, but I like it this way. I like to char it up a little bit. I think it adds a lot of quality of texture and flavor to my taco. I'm gonna put my pulled pork I just got out of the Römertopf on my taco. Now the dressing. And that's it. That's my Römertopf made pulled pork taco. Well, friends, thank you for joining me in my kitchen and having a little chat about the Römertopf and making some pulled pork tacos. I hope you had a good time. I had a good time. So until next time, happy cooking from Chef Bill.